Yeah, so I would say the thing that when I look back on my journey, successfully, building a business in a challenging time when in my market we went from 15,000 agents to 5,000 agents. So a lot of folks were exiting. There was all the bleeding headlines and end of the world and a lot of the same stuff we're seeing today. A lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Was I had a really clear vision. So that's the number one must do for as you're consuming this right now is to have a clear vision of where you're going to be, 3 years from now. Every year I come up with a very, very clear 3-year vision in my business, in my marriage, relationship with my kids, my physical body, my relationship with God, all of the areas of life that are meaningful to me.
I think the coolest part, click on the little sandwich button, scroll down, you can see your members, all the events, but the mini master classes, that's what's going to set this apart, along with the master classes that are coming. But now you can click on the mini master class that you like. It's broken down into sections. You've got the process here. You can scroll down, watch the video if you want. They're not very long. They're about 5 minutes each. And you can go and click on the PDF, and there you have all the notes for that specific mini master class. To me, we're live inside of the Facebook group, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We're going to be talking about the 5 must-do things in this shifting market, this evolving market, this pivoting market, whatever market this is. These are the 5 things we need to be doing. For those of you who don't know Lars, he's a friend of mine. Lars has a great history. He's a pro, but I want him to tell us all of the things he's doing right now because he moves fast. Lars, what the hell are you doing now, man? What's the coolest thing you're doing right now?
The coolest thing I'm doing right now, well, I just got back from Honduras. I went on a mission trip, and then I went to Roatan, which is an island off Honduras, and we went scuba diving. And so I've got the kind of calendar now where I've got a little bit of flexibility to, you kind of move from money to freedom, so you make money, you get some time, and now you can really sort of focus on impacting. And so that's some of the cool stuff now, just spending time with my kids that are a little bit older, 12 and 14. And just seeing them slip away. My wife took a picture of them on the front porch, first day of school today. She has a picture of them when they went to, kindergarten and preschool, and we're still taking the same pictures. So, so it's a busy time, a couple businesses that keep me busy, and the kids and a wife and all that good stuff.
Nice, man. I love that. Well, thanks for doing this. We appreciate you. The market is doing whatever it's doing. We need to change. We need to evolve as agents. Tell me, where do we start? Because you could probably go, and you told me you could probably go hours on each one of these 5 things, but where do we start?
Yeah, I'm going to spend like 2 quick minutes on a little bit of my backstory, just to lend a little bit of credibility to the conversation. I had some quiet time this morning. I do a magic time, 5:15 to like 7:15 every morning. And I spent about an hour just thinking about this time today. And when I got into real estate, it was 3 months before my market shifted, so I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina. Looking back, so maybe at the end of 2008, 2009, I look back and inventory just went from like almost no inventory in March 2007 when I got into real estate to June is when it just shot straight through the roof. And then everybody knows what happens with the Great Recession. So I left a cozy corporate job and got into real estate. Hadn't sold anything before, hadn't built any businesses, had never been a marketer or anything like that. But I had a lot on the line. I had gotten married in 2006. We had our first kid in November 2007. And so I was going to figured out how to generate leads, very simple script. I was the one thing guy before Gary wrote the book One Thing, where I just needed to do one thing long enough where I didn't have to do it anymore. And that was kind of my path. But my first full year sold 44 homes and then 58. And then leverage in systems and, showing agents and administrators and that sort of thing. To build a business that ran outside of my own efforts, and that was kind of my journey. 5,000 plus families served in that business. Exited that business in November 2020. But the context of this conversation, it's gonna leave some of you a little bit like, oh, I just want the lead gen lever, or I want to know how to generate leads, or. But I promise you, if you pay attention to these 5 things, it will give you the foundation to be able to get through anything in your life. And of course, we'll talk about business as well, but a lot of these things translate into any area of life that you want to be successful in. So so if you want to get after it, like I said, I've got a ton to cover.
Let's go, man. Let's start with the one you think is the most important. Mark Rader, who's a friend, a business partner of mine, just jumped in to co-host this with me, Lars.
How are we doing? Hey, Lars.
Doing great.
Hey,
so I would say the thing that when I look back on my journey, successfully, building a business in a challenging time, when in my market, we went from 15,000 agents to 5,000 agents. So a lot of folks were exiting. There was all the bleeding headlines and end of the world, and a lot of the same stuff we're seeing today. A lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. I had a really clear vision. So that's the number one must do for, as you're consuming this right now, is to have a clear vision of where you're going to be, 3 years from now. Every year I come up with a very, very clear 3-year vision in my business, in my marriage, relationship with my kids, my physical body, my relationship with God, all of the areas of life that are meaningful to me. Proverbs 29:18, it's a book that I read. I have faith in something bigger than me. Where there is no vision, the people perish. And so regardless of what you believe, it's a really interesting thing. Anyone, and what's the book? The guy that was in Nazi concentration, Viktor Frankl, meaning of man's search for meaning. Yeah, so the reason in the book, the reason he's able to sort of make it through is that he just has a vision for life outside of that situation. So, what's your 3-year vision? Just ask yourself, where do I want to be 3 years from now in my business? And we break that down into 1 year and then 90 days. And I'm working on my 3-year vision every day, because I've just had the ability to break it down. 3-year vision, 1-year plan, 90 days at a time. I do weekly commitments. These are 3 things I'm going to get done this week. And then I chunk those down into every day. I have 3 things that I do every day. And so, but you've got to attach them to do the crappy stuff today, which is going to, this shifting market's going to require some crappy stuff. You've got to attach it to the future. Otherwise, people don't do it. Generally, people aren't willing to do things that maybe aren't fun, or, maybe you used to get away with 10 meaningful contacts a day with would-be buyers and sellers. And maybe the next year it's going to have to be 30 to 40 a day. And the only reason you could do 30 to 40 is because you've attached it to being one of the agents that are still standing in the next 12, 24, 36 months. I'll share, I'm not going to bring it up right now. Actually, I'm going to share it real quick if my screen share works. It does. All right. So let me share my screen real quick. I just want to show it, and I'll share it in the group here as well. This was my first business plan back in late 2009. So I wrote this before I launched my team. The front side of it, and I OCD'd on this thing, so I don't expect any of that from any of you. But I was real clear, so this was my plan for 2010. Was, this is what's going to happen. And I was very clear on what that looked like. But what I want to share with you is, I broke everything down into, 3 years, 1 year, quarterly, that sort of thing. But I read this, I had 20 of these printed, these business plans, double-sided, laminated, printed everywhere. And this quote was meaningful to me: what the mind of man can conceive and believe it can achieve. Now, I just want to sell a lot of homes. It's not rocket science what we're doing, but I was very growth oriented. So that was the whole front, and I'll share it with you guys. But here's, every day I read this, my wake up thought, gave me another awesome day in which I will use to move towards achieving all my goals, realizing all my dreams. I will positively impact the lives of everyone I touch today. And then why am I doing this? And this was meaningful to me. And I'll just, one part, I want my children, my wife, and all my family to have total freedom of choice to do what we want to do. I came from a really challenging upbringing, didn't have anything growing up, divorced and alcoholic dad and that sort of stuff. My wife had a super challenging upbringing, and we both sort of made something of ourselves, but I just wanted us to be able to live a life that we never thought was possible. That was my first meaningful why that allowed me to kind of get out of my own way and do the things that had to be done in order to kind of achieve those things. So that's number one. I'm going to keep hustling along. I think what goes along with, vision is, you must take care of your mindset. And it's an easy one to say, right? Who doesn't know that's listening right now that mindset's important? But the question is, are you actually, doing something to improve your mindset and strengthen your mindset on a daily basis? It's really easy. I've fallen prey to it a little bit recently, to go in the rabbit hole of, the negativity in the news and the political drama and World War III, and is a nuclear weapon going to land on my house? Like, it's really easy in these times to spin out into those sort of mindsets. But you really have to pay attention to your world versus the world. So if you think about your world, it's your spouse, it's your children, it's your team members. You have a real estate team, your buyers and sellers, it's your physical body, your spiritual health. Your world is really, really narrow, and the world is really, really, really big. I had one of our members ask me one time, he said, Lars, how do you get so much done? How did he say it? He said, how do you get so much done when there's so much going on in the world, or something like that? But I remember the way he said it was, he said, in the world. Like it was recently that he said it, like so much stuff going on in the world. How do you succeed in business with all this stuff going on? And I was like, man, my world doesn't include Russia and Ukraine. It doesn't mean I don't have a heart for what's going on there. It doesn't include, the stock market. It doesn't include like all of the things, right? Inflation or, that sort of thing. And I remember back in the day, as I was scaling my business, we went from 58 transactions to 118 to 178. And those were the hardest Great Recession years, 2008, 9, 10. And I remember the thing I would tell myself every day is, nobody can tell me that I can't sell a house today. And to me, that was really liberating. It's like, I could literally go out today and make $10,000. That was like the average commission check back then. And so the question I would have for the group is like, do you believe, as agents are sort of freaking out here, I think there's going to be a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. I think that's going to get the better part of many agents, but do you believe you can scale your business while other agents, kind of leave the industry or maybe don't show up every day? I'll probably put some resources in like some books that I recommend. There's a really good one that was written recently by Benjamin Hardy, but I think it's Dan Sullivan is the main author. It's The Gap and the Gain. Really, really good concept. I coached with Dan Sullivan for 4 years in his top mastermind. He only coaches entrepreneurs. And it's this concept of, looking, if you're always looking toward, this ideal that maybe can't be achieved, or you're comparing yourself to others. So you're always like never getting where you want to get to. And it leads to a constant state of discontentment versus just counting like where you've come from. And it's, it's a little bit of progress every day. You're going to feel like you're building momentum versus, I'm never going to catch that person, or look at that person selling 1,000 homes. I'm only selling, or whatever you're comparing yourself to. So that's take care of your mindset. You guys have any thoughts on any of that? Any questions, Tristan or Mark? Oh, you're muted.
Oh, Tristan, you're muted, buddy.
We're in agreement with you. We're just taking notes here.
Yeah. Awesome. So I'll just keep rolling then. The third, must do to not only crush the shift, but also to show up in your, most importantly in your home, so if a lot of you have spouses and you have kids, is to take care of your physical body. And this is something that is really, I don't know if I want to go PC on this one or not. I think in real estate, I think we've allowed ourselves just to sort of take a pass on taking care of our physical bodies because, real estate gets in the way, or we're working a deal and it's the first thing that hits us in the morning is a negotiation left over from the night before, or, but it has to be non-negotiable that you take care of your physical body so that you're actually accelerating through anything, any chaos or any bad market that could happen. If you're not eating well, you're not getting 4 to 5 workouts a week, you're not drinking, at least 2 liters, maybe 4 liters, and you're not getting at least 7 hours of sleep, you're not going to be able to, kick ass during the day and then still have the physical energy to be able to show up and be useful and present in your home. The risk in real estate is that you give most of it to real estate and there's nothing left over for your spouse and your kids. And if you're lucky, you'll stay close to the family and close to your spouse, but more often than not, you're drifting, and it typically doesn't end very well. A relationship can't end well if you're not sort of tending to it. So
it's, on that point, Lars, I was talking to a friend of mine. His name's Justin. He's an he trains the NHL on mind and body and spirit. And he was saying, like, if you're not there for your mind and if you're not there physically, how are you showing up for your family? Are you showing up 50%, 60% of what you should be showing up as? And to me, when he started putting it in percentages, it's like, damn, you're right. I am only showing up at times 70%. I'm not even present sometimes, right? I need to switch that, right? So just being aware of that really puts you in current state, so you know where you're at and you do better mentally, physically, and spiritually.
Yeah. And I don't know if this is going to help anyone, but as you were saying that, this came to my mind where, I don't know. So I've been married for 16, let me think, 2006. So this year, 16 years. And for the first 7 or 8 years, it was very much tit for tat, where I was going to meet my wife 50-50 in my mind. And it didn't work out very well because I was maybe taking inventory of man, I just worked a full day and, and whatever crap we get going on in our heads. But I don't know where I heard it, but it was it was an Andy Stanley podcast about leadership. And he said, what would a world-class blank do? So he was using okay, in any situation, what would a world-class leader do? If you slow down and ask yourself that question, you'll always get the answer, right? And he said, and you can also ask it what would a world-class husband do? A world-class husband would, show up at 6:30 or 6 whenever they're done with work, and they would be on point. They would have taken care of themselves during the day and gotten an appropriate amount of sleep the night before so they can engage at a high level for the 4 or 5 hours that matter the most. And I didn't always do that. I was eating poorly, and I would stay up late working on the business and, and that sort of thing. But though that time matters more than anything else. And the thing I tell myself now is that my goal is to give 100% to my wife and my kids 100% of the time. And I fail all the time with that standard, but I was just 7 days with a group of guys in Honduras, and then we had fun afterwards, scuba diving and stuff. Mm-hmm. I gave 0%, you know what I mean? So I gave 0% to the family during that time. So now I'm back in it. I got up early this morning, even though I got home super late. I got my workout in. and I'm going to be on point tonight and right back at it. So, and I think I mentioned with your health, sleep, water, fitness, and diet. And start small if you struggle. If you're like sitting there and you haven't worked out in forever, you're 100 pounds overweight, and this is just the thing you've just not taken care of, just start out with like, I'm just going to drink 2 liters of water a day for 30 days and get that one habit, stack that one habit, and then say, I'm going to walk a mile, 5 days a week for the next 30 days, and then stack that habit. Right. And just kind of keep stacking the habits. My fourth one, because we've only got about 9 minutes left here, is you must be productive. And I'm gonna share a what I call a productivity pack with some of the tools that I'm going to go through here in a second. So don't worry about fully understanding it. What I share in the group will make sense. There's nothing to sell. It's literally just to give. It's a video explaining these 3 tools, but the reason why most people don't make the kind of money that they want to make working a reasonable amount of hours, and this goes for anyone, is that they're spending time on things that generally are low dollar activities. So if I follow 90% of real estate agents around for a week or two, and I looked at where they spent their time, most of the time, more than 80% of the time, they're doing administrative activities. Like a busy agent is in the car, they're going to the attorney to drop off a check, they're putting a yard sign out, they're grabbing a lockbox, they're dropping off brochures, they're entering a listing in MLS. Think of like in a major metro market that I'm in, we could hire out courier type activities for like 10 to 12 bucks an hour. And good administrative help is 18 to 20 bucks an hour, maybe 25 if you get like really somebody that can play the game and handle client care as well. But the point is, unless you want to make 25 bucks an hour, which if you're working, say 40-hour work weeks is 2,000 hours a year at 25 bucks an hour, that's 50 grand. If you want to make 50 grand, then you should keep doing all the administrative stuff in your business. If you want to make 250 take home or 500,000 take home, I drew a line in the sand early on in real estate saying that I was going to make $500,000 take home net, and I wanted to work 40 hours a week. So it's 500,000 divided by 2,000 hours a year. So the average pay is $250 an hour. That's what I decided I was gonna make. And then it became super clear. I can't put listing and buyer packets together. I can't show homes to buyers. I can't enter listings into MLS. I can never go to an inspection. I can never, like all the things you can get someone super qualified, even though the task is critically important, you can get someone super qualified to do that thing. And that's just a mindset shift that is like, at some point you have to start thinking like an owner if you want to make serious money in real estate, because you will lose your mind. You'll lose your calendar if you're only going to do it, via brute force. It's some stat like only 15% of agents have an admin or something like that, and 85% of what an agent does is administrative in nature. So it's like double stacked against you. So this productivity pack that I'll share, it goes through an exercise called passion versus pay. So there are things you do that you really love doing, high passion, that are low pay. Like showing homes to buyers is like, I love it. It's just the best thing. I get to, be out with my clients. But the reality is you can hire someone to show homes for you for 25 bucks an hour, so that's the disconnect, is that people aren't willing to look at their time and be honest with themselves about where they're spending their time. And then we have an exercise we call a 14-day time study, where we actually take an inventory of our time. Highly recommend it. It's probably one of the more painful things you'll do, is to actually be honest with yourself about where you're spending your time. But I'll share that in the group here as well. It's our 14-day time study. And you just kind of document your time and catalog it and summarize it. And you'll be surprised how much of your time is spent on business administrative, personal administrative, and then also on media, on news or social media or watching Netflix and those kinds of things. I guess, yeah, go ahead.
What's like uh, I'm really interested in that. What does that look like exactly? Like, do they do like an hour by hour type of thing, or how does that work?
Yeah, let me pull it up here real quick. And I could just show it. Oh, I have it actually I have it pulled up here. All right, yeah, so this is this really, if I had the game that I decided to play in business early on, and I didn't do it perfectly, actually only maybe 1 or 2 years in the last 15 have I actually achieved it. But I wanted to make $1 million. I wanted to make a 7-figure take home net income. And I wanted to work 1,000 hours a year or 20 hours a week. So obviously I didn't start out that way. I netted 37,000 my first year in real estate. So clearly I was nowhere near those numbers, but I had the mindset. I adopted that mindset. Like everything I was going to do is $1,000 an hour. And these are the main tools that I use to get there. So that's the ideal week. There's a video that explains all this stuff, so I'm not going to go through it, but here's the time study, where essentially you just print this thing out and you wake up and you just document where you're spending your time. At the end of every day, you code it in the type column against one of these. You're working on your business, in the business, you're doing business admin, you're doing self-care, quality family time, you're in media, or you're doing personal admin. And you're just honest with yourself about this. And then you've got 90 days to sort of clean this up with this passion versus pay. You put these two sheets next to each other. You kind of put all your tasks into one of the 4 quadrants. And then anything low pay, whether you're passionate about it or not, if you want to make more money in less time with less stress, you've got to delegate everything that's below the line, that's not making you the kind of money that you want to make. And that's really all that I've done over the last 10 years or so to make more money in less time and have more impact. So it's been a pretty cool process, but I'll share that in the group as well, so you guys have access to it.
I love that, dude.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll say the last thing, and I feel like I've hogged the whole thing. We haven't even had a conversation, but I'm going to share a link to like the ideal week. There definitely is like an ideal week where, like, if you're not time blocked, new business development, lead follow-up, office work, when you take appointments, you get to decide when you take appointments. You put all your family commitments, your date nights, all the stuff, the non-negotiables you put in your calendar first, and then you work against that, rather than just like, oh, are you free on Thursday night? No, I'm not free on Thursday night. We have Friday at 3 p.m. we could meet, or Thursday at 4 p.m. But I have an appointment Thursday at 7 p.m. Unfortunately, they don't need to know it's an appointment with your family. People are willing to take time off, to get their hair done, but they're not willing to take time off to meet with an agent. And we've done some cool stuff with virtual as well. And then just real quick, 3 resources. Then I want to get to some questions. Atomic Habits by James Clear is like really, really awesome book. Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. I read that in the early days. And Willpower Doesn't Work by Benjamin Hardy. Those are 3 resources that are exceptional. Yeah, so I hogged the whole time, but
that was good, man.
We have a question here from Anita. When you hire someone to show homes, do you pay them additionally if that home closes escrow?
Yeah, so there's like different ways that we coach to this. The main thing is, the year I sold 66 homes, I sold 33 buyers, but I showed very few homes. I paid $25 an hour plus $250 when it was actually an agent on my team, but they just acted as a showing agent. So it ended up being like roughly 10 hours of showings, so it's $250 for showings and $250 bonus. So $500 on a $8,000 commission check. And I only had a couple hours in the deal. So the first move shouldn't be to hire a buyer agent. It should be to hire a showing agent. That works out really well. And there's a ton of agents that are happy to do hourly work right now.
That's very true, man. You're so right. All right. Let's see. You're going to put up the link here or in the Facebook group. Where are you going to put up that link?
I'm assuming all these guys, well, if you're on here live, you should go join LabCoatAgents. So I'll put it in the Facebook group. but you've got to go into LabCoatAgents to get it. I mean, everyone's in LabCoatAgents, but it's probably one of the best Facebook groups in that you should be in it anyway. But I'll post it in there under this thread. And I'm going to share I can actually share my Google Calendar ideal week schedule. I'll share it in there as well, along with the productivity pack. And if you guys have any questions, as you're getting into any of the tools, I'll share my 2010 business plan as well, the one that I brought up.
Perfect.
It has some like really personal stuff in there, so don't tease me too much. I think I commented on my goals, my intimacy goals with my wife in that plan. So I get a little crap sometimes from some people.
That's funny. That's okay, man. It's part of being real.
Yeah, for sure. So any other Cindy says you're right that business does not lend itself towards me. Yeah, it doesn't. But I would say to Cindy's comment, I've found that it's the standards. Like if we compare ourselves to any other profession, like the best lawyer, the best doctor, you can't text them on a Friday night. Like you can't text your attorney on a Friday night and be like, hey, attorney, like I want to talk about the work we're doing right now and all weekend long. And I get that real estate's a little different, but it's really not. I mean, if you set the standard with your clients to say, hey, Tristian, it's going to be awesome working with you. If it's really hitting the fan and something blows up, on a Friday night or a Saturday or a Sunday, we can deal with it. But lenders don't work on the weekends. Attorneys don't work on the weekends, so there's no answers we can get anyway. So most of those things will just hold off until Monday, and nobody is going to fight you on that. If you set the expectation in advance, that's worked really well, even for agents on our teams.
Nice, man. I love that. Any other questions we've got? I'm only monitoring the webinar here, not the Facebook group. So Mark, anything?
Good to go.
All right. Lars, where do people get a hold of you if they want more of you?
I would just say Real Estate B School. B as in business. So realestatebschool.com. There's a bunch of free resources. Just hit the resources tab. You can get a bunch of resources. There's a podcast link on there as well, and case studies and whatnot. We just launched a new program. Details are in there as well.
I love it, man. Lots of great information. And we went through it pretty quick. So anything you need from Lars, reach out to him. He's going to post that amazing document inside of the group. Watch out for it. I'll pin it to the top, Lars, as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll be in there. It should have been number 5, Anita, was it was your calendar.
Yep.
So the must do is like having an actual calendar where I live by my calendar. Like it tells me when I need to end my day. It tells me when I need to go on a date night. It tells me when I need to work out, when I need to read the Bible, when I need to do my weekly planning and all stuff. Everything is in my calendar. I use Google Calendar. So I'll actually share a link. You can, if you're a Google Calendar user, it'll open up in Google Calendar, and it should work out for you.
Perfect. Lars, thank you so much, man.
Lars.
You.
Awesome, guys. Yeah, I feel like Tristian, Mark, maybe we should get together another time where we actually have a conversation and not just me preaching the whole time.
Great. I took some great notes, so thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Awesome, guys. We'll talk soon. All right, be good.